In this video, we'll discuss installation and setup of a weight distribution hitch. Tools required to perform this procedure include a tape measure, a ratchet, sockets and wrenches applicable to your equipment's hardware, a high-speed fibrous grease, and a torque wrench. While there are many weight distribution hitch systems on the market, most work the same way. They distribute weight from one point to many across a total suspension system. This levels ride height of the towing vehicle and trailer. Begin by leveling the trailer using the trailer's tongue jack. Then measure and record the distance to the ground from the top of the coupler. Measure and record the distance between the ground and the bottom lip of the front and rear bumpers on your towing vehicle. Begin the installation by installing the tow shank into the trailer hitch's receiving tube. The tow shank can be installed in either the upright or inverted position. Dry fit the head unit onto the shank with a hex bolt and conical tooth washer. Rotate it into an upright position and measure the distance from the top of the ball coupler to the ground. If the head unit is positioned correctly on the tow shank, then the ball mount should sit approximately 1 to 3 inches higher than the trailer's tongue coupler. With the head unit seated correctly on the tow shank, rotate the ball mount downward to gain access to the inner channel so that the adjustment rod can be installed. Installing the adjustment rod helps dial in the ball mount's height. Flat washers can be added or removed from the adjustment rod to increase or decrease the distance between the tow shank and the ball mount. A longer adjustment rod is available for use if the shorter one proves inadequate. Fit the adjustment rod into its receptacle within the head unit's inner channel. Then rotate the head unit and ball mount into an upright position until the adjustment rod comes into contact with the shank. Install the hex bolt at the bottom of the head unit. Then install a toothed conical washer to the upper 5-inch hex bolt and thread it through the head unit and shank. Install conical tooth washers and nylock nuts to the bolts, then tighten them down until firm. We'll torque them down later. Next, we inspect the unit's spring arms and ensure that the U-bolt, nylock nuts, and lift chain are correctly assembled. Ours came pre-attached, but if yours isn't, make sure the U-bolt is evenly attached, making sure there are 2 or 3 threads under the nylock nut on either side. Adding high-speed fibrous grease to the spring bar's trunnion knobs before each use is good practice. This will reduce friction and extend the life of your weight distribution hitch. Insert the lower knob of the trunnion into the lower pocket of the head assembly, then rotate it to guide the top trunnion knob into the upper pocket. Repeat this step for the other spring arm. Now let's couple the trailer. Using the tongue jack, raise the coupler on the unit high enough to accommodate the ball hitch on the towing vehicle. Back the tow vehicle into position, then lower the tongue jack coupler onto the ball mount, just enough so that it can be latched closed. Continue supporting the trailer's weight with the tongue jack. The snap-up bracket should be installed at the intersection of the drawbar and the lift chain when the spring arms are parallel to the drawbars. With the snap-up bracket in position, install the retaining bolt to its threaded rear hole. Tighten it down until it makes contact with the drawbars. Then tighten it a quarter turn past that. Thread a chain link into the snap-up bracket hook, then lock it into its upright position. Secure the snap-up bracket with a spring clip, then repeat this step for the opposite side. With all of the hitch's components in place, check that the trailer's tongue is level. Then from the tow vehicle's front and rear bumpers, remeasure their distance to the ground and compare them to your earlier measurement. The difference between the measurements should not exceed 1/2 inch. Adjustments will need to be made if they do, which we'll discuss later. If everything checks out, decouple your trailer from the tow vehicle, and using a torque wrench, tighten all of your hitch's hardware to the amount specified in its documentation. Leveling your tow vehicle can require adjustments at the following components: the chain links on the snap-up bracket, adding flat washers to the adjustment rods, swapping out the adjustment rods, or remounting the head unit to different mounting points on the tow shank. Spring bar lift chains apply a downward force to the trailer's drawbars, creating lift at the coupler. Reducing the amount of chain links hooked to the snap-up bracket will increase the amount of force applied to the trailer's drawbars. Fewer than 5 chain links, and the spring bars will bind to the snap-up brackets during transit. This stops the spring arms and weight distribution hitch from working as intended. Never use excessive force when locking the snap-up brackets and chains into position. Attempting to lock fewer than 5 chains on the brackets can be extremely difficult if your ride height still isn't level even after using only 5 chain links. Adjustments will need to be made at the head unit assembly as well. Head unit assembly adjustment can be done in several increments. Coarse adjustments are made by moving the head unit assembly to a different set of mounting points on the tow shank. Average adjustments can be made by swapping the head unit adjustment rod out and using the alternatively sized rod provided with the hitch. Fine adjustments are achieved by adding or subtracting flat washers to the adjustment rod, which can dial in the ride height if it's fractions of an inch away from the recommended 1/2 inch tolerance. If you're still unable to level the ride height of your tow vehicle, you may need to invert the tow shank, or make sure the adjustment hitch you're using is correctly rated for your trailer's gross weight. Otherwise, ride height should now be level. Remember, always connect your trailer's travel harness to power and secure your trailer's safety chains to the vehicle's frame. Now let's perform a visual inspection before we get on the road. Check that both vehicles are level. Make sure the spring bar lift chains are equal in length on both sides of the trailer's tongue. Check that all retaining pins and clips are installed to your snap-up brackets, trailer's tongue coupler, and your tow shank. If everything checks out, you're ready to travel.